And now we are live. I mean, not
Perfect.
live, but on the recording.
Yeah. So, hello, first of all, thank you for
Hello.
taking part in this interview.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. First of all, can you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Of course, I am Murat, 50 plus years old. I'm in IT industry. I'm working on cybersecurity, and I currently live in Istanbul, Turkey.
Thank you. So, our first topic is the current situation in Turkey. What does your daily life look like?
Well, current situation is, I believe, more or less like every other place on earth. We have quite a bit of COVID-19 or coronavirus problems. And latest news is we also have some corona positive patients, especially, I mean, not especially, but also within our street. As a family, we have been in home. We were self-isolating ourselves for the last 14 days, or no, more, for the last 17 days. And my typical day is basically we get out, we have some breakfast, and then I sit down on my laptop and work from home, almost without any breaks towards the evening. And at the evening, we get together as a family and try to, enjoy time and spare time. For the last those days, we have been out with kids, with family, but we were only stayed in the car. We were just get some fresh air, at least with the car. And once we went to the forests, and once we went to the seashore and had a little walk there where no people are around, and then come back. But for the last 4 or 5 days, we decided even not to do that. So we are constantly at home.
So are you currently facing a shutdown in Turkey?
There is a sort of a limited shutdown. There is a shutdown for elderly people. If somebody is older than 65 years old, they have to stay at home. And first time this weekend, there was sort of a partial shutdown in addition to old people. All the public places, all the parks, all the shores, all the walking areas are also closed. But there is no official stay-at-home order yet.
Okay. And how is the health system dealing with Corona?
Well, in one hand, it is dealing better than some other places. One of the main reasons are, especially Istanbul has been very famous for health tourism. So we have quite a number of extra beds and extra equipments, because Turkey, as a cheap health destination, are always getting some tourists for cheaper operations. So, of course, of any kind of tourism, including health tourism, now is of course stopped. But we do have some extra capabilities. But still, Corona is contagious enough to outlaw all of those beds and extra capacity. So people are really struggling.
Okay. But is there a possibility to test yourself if you have some symptoms?
No, not yet. We don't have any homemade or home practicing tests yet in Turkey. If we have some symptoms, we can go to hospital, and hospitals have some, of course, they do have some limited number of tests. So they basically try to diagnose you with some other ways of doing that. And if they think that you might be COVID positive, or there is a chance that you might have some COVID because of your history, because where have you been, because who have you been contacting with, there are some tests, and those tests can tell you if you are COVID positive or not.
Okay. maybe back to your daily life.
Yes.
What do your supermarkets look like? Do you have problems with finding certain goods?
Not really. I mean, at least we do have enough toilet paper around.
Yeah.
We are okay in terms of supermarkets. At least we do have enough toilet paper. Of course, we ran out of high degree alcohol like cologne and other stuff, the hand sanitizers, very quickly. Also, the masks. There were some very high prices, astronomical prices. People were trying to abuse this disease and try to sell whatever they have to 10-fold, 15-fold, 20-fold prices. But then government basically intervened and disabled those and give me very high fines. But those are the things that are difficult to find. But other than that, normal supermarkets are working fine. As we live in Istanbul, and Istanbul has a very good system for home delivery. We haven't been to shopping for the last 2.5 weeks now, but we do have regular cargo coming in from the supermarkets. And what we do is we basically created 2 staging areas. We basically first, when they delivered it to our doorstep, we basically leave the bags for 2 days on our doorstep, and then take those to the balcony and wait for another day for the fresh air, so that hopefully that coronavirus would basically go away, and then take them inside and wash and then use. Of course, when we order things that it is not possible to wait for 2 or 3 days in the doorway because they have to be in cold, then we take them immediately in-house, wash them with soap, and then wash ourselves, and then put them in the refrigerator, get rid of the external packaging layers as much as possible. This is how we try to cope with.
Okay. Back to the limited shutdown.
Sure.
How is it checked? Because you said that the government is, for example, checking illegal trade.
Yes.
It's also, how is the curfew checked? Is there, for example, a large military presence?
No, currently there is no military at all, at least within the city. But there is a very crowded police in place, and police got road blockages all around, and they basically try to stop people and warn them even by car for the last few days. Even if we have not been outside, we heard from some other people that, police stop them and say, go back to home, protect yourself, protect others. And there is also a very wide, like a marketing campaign to stay at home that is endorsed by the government, also by the idea leaders, by famous people, by influencers. So we have this stay-at-home campaign for the people who are actually internet literate.
Okay. We don't hear much from Turkey. We also don't have any numbers of infections. Do you feel well informed?
Unfortunately, no. There are a couple of reasons behind that. The initial response. Turkey was one of the countries where we start to see our first COVID-19 positive patient very late. And unfortunately, Turkish government has a history of not telling everything to the people immediately. So, as a public, at least as a person, I do afraid that they knew beforehand, but they were trying to hide. Maybe that would go away. And that was the first thing. The second thing, because we had, I don't know how many diagnosis tests we have and how accurate they are, and how is it possible to basically get a diagnosis from everybody. I believe the official numbers are lower than the real numbers, because government basically says even if you feel a little bit ill, stay at home, don't come to hospitals. We do have friends who went to the hospital. They say you have some sort of flu, but we don't know which part. But go home, use your mask if you have some other people at home, and never get out. And because they are young people, they are not COVID positive in terms of the numbers, but we believe that they do have a very similar symptoms to coronavirus.
Okay.
We do also have some friends, even before the very first coronavirus, we here in Turkey, that got diagnosed with pneumonia, and they were getting either treatment at home or at the hospital. But when we get to the details of corona, we now think back, and those could also be corona or COVID-19, but we don't know yet.
Okay.
I guess the best chance we get is when we get some sort of tests, when we can measure if we have already passed COVID-19 or not.
Okay. So how are you feeling? Are you scared or concerned?
Well, there are different answers to this question. To start with, in terms of health, in terms of my own health, my household health, I'm not concerned because we are very well. We do our best to protect ourselves. Let me put it that way. I am a little bit concerned of my old relatives, especially some of them who has some other disease, and corona is proven to be deadly to that kind of things, and I hope that they don't get that. That's the health part. In terms of how we isolate ourselves, and if we are going to be find something to eat and drink, I guess that's more or less okay. I'm more concerned on the availability of the internet than availability of heating, for example. And in terms of economy and future, how we can cope with the economical effects of such a huge global pandemic is something that also concerns me a little bit. Although my industry, IT, is very fortunate, when you compare to some other industries, as we all know, still, in the midterm, the whole economy may collapse, and that would affect everybody regardless of what they do. But in the long term, I guess we will recover as the whole global economy.
Okay. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation again.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
So I have stopped the broadcast.